Hello, welcome to our demonstration of some lovely craft brew. As you know, part of this checkout procedure is to demonstrate and go over in detail with you some of the items that we have available for you to purchase. I understand that you have ordered the package of 6 beers, 6 beverages. That means we will go through our top 6 choices. I will describe these to you in complete detail. And as I explain these to you, we're going to do a little bit of investigation around the packaging. We're going to look at some of the artwork as well. And I will be able to provide some historical reference on beers in general and some information on each brewing company. Okay? And towards the end of this demonstration, I will allow a pour into one of our lovely pint glasses here, allowing you to taste whichever beverage you choose. And at the end of our time together, you will walk away with a pack of 6 craft brews from some small independent breweries. Okay? Let us begin first by just describing to you, and this is something I do for all of my customers. We are so passionate about the industry of beer that we love to share with you some information around how craft brewing really began. So, introducing the idea of craft beer. Craft beer is produced by smaller breweries, as you know, and these ones are often independently owned. So a lot of the ones we have featured here today are small, independent companies. Maybe some are a little bit bigger than others, but nonetheless, it does not affect the quality of each beverage. So interestingly, the term craft beer is really reserved for beer that's made at facilities that are smaller and independent that really didn't arrive until after the 1970s. So believe it or not, in the US, 1965 marks the revival of craft beer, specifically at Anchor Brewing, which we know is located in San Francisco, California. The former President Jimmy Carter actually signed a law called the Home Brewing Law in 1978, which allowed the industry to be deregulated. So that means that the following year, in 1979, due to the deregulated brewing market, all of these independent, smaller brewing companies were able to be created and sustained throughout the 80s and 90s. And into the 2000s, however, we know that craft brewing really didn't become very, very popular, at least in the United States, until the late 2000s or mid-2000s, really. And so, given that law put into effect by Jimmy Carter, former President Jimmy Carter, it's been much, much easier to create and sustain a small brewing industry. You're even allowed now, due to that law, to home brew your own beer. So before that, you were not really allowed to do that. Isn't that interesting? So during this time of the late 70s, early 80s, did you know that there were only 89 breweries in the entire country of the United States? And certainly as of 2016, we have then, which is a little outdated, but there's 5,200 breweries, with the west coast of the United States providing the most craft breweries and the deep south providing the least. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to explain a little bit to you our most popular 3 items here. These items are going to be packaged for you specifically for your needs and your taste. And then we will do, as I said, a little demonstration at the end. We're going to begin today here with the Sierra Nevada. This might be very familiar to you. And what I like to do is use my little pointer stick here just to describe to you something that we see here on this beautiful deep green can. And we can see that Sierra Nevada's logo has provided the image of hops here on the end. There are so many different types of hops that exist. It would be quite difficult for me to explain to you all the different ones, but please do know that in various flavors here, we do have a variety of different hops that are mixed into all of these beverages. This is the Torpedo IPA. This is an extra IPA. We've got this in the 16 fluid ounce size here, okay? Now, Sierra Nevada comes from Chico, California. That's Northern California, very high up there, sort of. To those of you who don't know, this particular beer, the Torpedo IPA, is their most popular. And the style is that of an American Pale Ale, which is a specific style of beer. This is deep amber in color. It's exceptionally full-bodied with a very complex character. We've got a 5.6% alcohol content in this beverage, and it is typically described as sweet, light, and clean, okay? So this one is family owned as well, operated and argued over, so it says, okay? So that begins the first item in your 6-pack package. Let's move on now to, let's take a look. This one here. Now this one's quite different. This is from a brewery called 21st Amendment. This is called In and Oat. In and Oat. Now this is a play on In-N-Out, the very famous burger joint in California on the West Coast. There perhaps might exist one in other areas of the country, though it's extremely far and few. It's sort of a very traditional Californian thing to do. And this beer here is a play on that particular burger place. So this is the In-N-Out Hazy IPA. Hazy IPA, and that means that this is a New England style. So where we had the Sierra Nevada being the American Pale Ale style, this is a New England style Hazy IPA. This is going to be for somebody who's very adventurous in their beer consumption. This is perhaps not something that you would crack open after a day of work. This might be something to enjoy as you're sitting, exploring the depth and differences across all beverages of this type. And I say that because this is made with 3 different types of oats, a very rare occurrence in beer. And it also includes their own house-made oat milk. Now, this might be very off-putting to some of you like myself. However, this does exist just to have an experience of tasting and exploring all the different things you can do with beverages like this. This also is a result, so the result of this, I would say, has been described as being a pillowy, soft mouthfeel balanced with bright tropical fruit hop flavors. So the hop included in this beverage here is obviously more fruity in its flavor. This has a 6.6% alcohol content, and you can generally expect this to have a malty feel, in addition to fruity as mentioned, but also some creamy, of course, which makes quite sense when we're talking about oats and oat milk. The artwork here is different. So here you see the play on the historic burger joints like In-N-Out, how they used to deliver your food on roller skates. Wouldn't that just be so fun? And instead they are serving some beer. All right, that's item number 2 in your individualized 6-pack. Moving on now, I would like to show you this beautiful one here. Okay, now this one here is Magnolia Brewing Company. Look at this beautiful orb or a sphere right on the front package here. As you can see, it has a deep blue fading into a light iridescent blue, very minimalist, very gorgeous packaging, very modern packaging. This particular beer from Magnolia Brewing Company is called Absolute Zero, located right here on the side packaging label right there. And if we take a look at this beer, we'll learn that it's a cold IPA, 16 fluid ounce with a 6.3% alcohol level. Now, this style of beer is an American IPA, which is essentially a new style of beer that leads into this idea of cold IPA, taking the fermentation style of steam beer and combining it with trendy hop profiles that showcases the hop character, which is really going to land right above a very crisp body. Okay, so IPAs in general are going to be more hoppy. That makes them an IPA. It makes them a little bit more bitter, a little bit more heavier, versus something like a Pilsner or a lager, which is much, much lighter. So the contents of this particular beer, the Absolute Zero, is going to be described as floral, juicy, light, hoppy, and smooth. That sounds quite yummy to me. This is one that I really enjoyed, that I highly recommend if you're interested. Yes, all right. Okay, that leads us now to our following one that I'd like to show you here. And what I'd like to really name here with all of us is the advancement and exploration of the labels of beer cans over the years. I think we can all agree that over time, moving from a very simplistic historical style, it now has really evolved to being a canvas for certain artists and for these small brewing companies to express themselves artistically, to really add another dimension and layer to their beverage. It really ties in the whole experience of consuming this beer. This particular one is Fieldwork Brewing, okay, and it's called Galaxy Island. This has a 6.6% alcohol content, and it is described and labeled as a West Coast IPA. It's brewed with Galaxy hops, which is a type of hop, and it's really described as a clean, smooth, citrus and piney flavor. Some of you might really enjoy that piney flavor of beer, which often accommodates the IPA style, and it can be quite nice to enjoy when it's really crisp and cold. So just looking here at the label, we can see some floral background with a beautiful bird with this sort of light pink going into a mint color. and into a darker pink. Feels very retro in a way, but also very bright, very fun, summery. I really like the feminine touch of this one as well. So as we know, this is 16 fluid ounces, which is 1 pint in the United States. And we can see here their lovely stamp right here. This does come out of Berkeley, California. Beautiful one here. Okay. Next, we're going to take a look at this one. This one comes from a brewing company called Ghost Town. This is called Sigil IPA. Now this is going to be higher in alcohol content at a 7.5%. So similarly to the Fieldwork one we just talked about, this is also a West Coast style of IPA. This is described as hoppy and bitter, but with a little bit of sweetness. So again, let's just mention here the wonderful packaging and how it has really evolved. Noticing that each beer can is different and has some really fun artwork on it. This particular beer does include these types of hops. So remember in the beginning, I did describe to you the fact that hops really exist over a large amount, and so all different types of names are included, and this particular beer company has decided on this beer to list the hops that are included. For those of you who are very invested craft beer consumers and find it very passionate and interesting, you might be very familiar with these types of hops listed here. Mosaic, Idaho 7, I don't know that one, and Amarillo. Okay, and this comes out of Oakland, California. All right, and lastly, we're going to cover your sixth and final choice, the Three Weavers Brewing. The beverage is called Light Trails. I think this might be my most favorite packaging yet, with the gradiating colors here, this kind of space galaxy feel behind with these shooting star-like decorations. Similar to the Sigil IPA, this is a 7.2%, again, West Coast IPA. So this is quite popular with smaller breweries located on the West Coast. It is a type of beer that obviously was created and cultivated on the West Coast of the United States. In this particular beer of Light Trails, you're going to find flavors of lemon, grapefruits, and sweet peaches. It also has been described as having a little bit of a piney flavor, a little bit dry, nutty with some stone bread flavors as well. That yeast flavor does seem to surface a little bit in this. This also has listed some of the hop types that it is included, like Amarillo and Idaho 7, for a blazing bouquet of flavor with the notes I mentioned before. And this particular beer does say it's more than beer, it's community. And you will often find at these smaller independent craft brewing companies, it is a community. It is usually family run or between friends. And it is it's a big part of their life, culture, and sense of connection among other beer lovers and people who enjoy consuming as well. And of course, what I'd like to say to you is always consuming with moderation and with intelligence, safety as well. And too much of anything, too frequent, is never ever good. Isn't that right? Right. All right, so what I'd like to do now is complete your 6-pack individualized package, and we will do the demonstration. Okay, Now for the purpose of our demonstration today, we do have this beautiful pint glass. Now this is from Rogue Brewery out of Portland, Oregon. A fabulous company as well. Okay, we love to showcase all sorts of companies and breweries because there is no competition as it is a community. They all cheer and lean on one another in the industry. So you have your individualized 6-pack here. Which one would you like to give a try today? Okay, the In and Out. You're going to be quite brave and give it a nice sample right here. That's a wonderful idea. Let's go ahead and get this opened for you. And yes, all of these have been chilled and are ready for consumption. Right away, you can smell all of the hops coming through of the oat milk aroma as well. Let's go ahead and give it a pour and see how it comes out. Let's give us some more space here. There we go. We're going to give a nice little pour, nice and slow. Whoops. Just like that. So it's much lighter than you expected. Take a look at that there. That's right. This is much, much lighter considering that it is technically a hazy IPA and it does have some of those oats. So remembering that this is described as having a pillowy, soft mouthfeel, but also balanced with bright and tropical fruit hop flavors. Let's see. What do you think? Yes, surprisingly, you don't pick up any oat flavoring whatsoever. You're not even really picking up some creamy either. It tastes just like a usual hazy IPA. Well, that's quite interesting, and nonetheless, it's an exciting adventure for them to have integrated their own house-made oat milk in addition to a variety of oats. And that's what's so fun about these smaller companies being able to experiment and get creative in what they make. All right, so that does complete our demonstration and our time together. I thank you so much for listening, your wonderful questions as well. I do hope to see you back here again sometime. Bye-bye.